So let's start with the equipment, because that's the easiest part. You can run Chronomancer with whatever stats you want, and you loosely get the same out of it. It's not a damage class, it's not a support class, so you don't really need healing. Even if you do have some power, you're not gonna do great damage anyway. You could be running Celestial and you still have enough sustain to survive. So the build that I'm running is Diviner, I think, and Wanderer. That gives me some power, some little bit of critical strike, and roughly 80% boon duration. Now the boon duration is the most important part of this build, not for everybody else, but mostly for yourself, because you want the alacrity to stay on you, and for that you do need boon duration. Now you could run the same with full minstrel gear. The runes are, you could use the durability. You could use any of the runes that grants you boon duration, and it's alright. But yeah, that's my default build. Only cause I like, hitting people a little bit harder. As for the traits and build in general, I'm running this one. As a commander, I'm running this build. Now it's slightly different. But yeah. So the very first build is a standard Chronomancer build focused on removing boons from the enemies and keeping up with alacrity, and that's mostly what you're gonna do. You're gonna remove boons, apply some CCs, and give alacrity to you and your sub party. Now, the main thing that you get from the build that I linked is that your split second, which is your shatter number 1, has 2 stacks, so it's more alacrity, because every time you shatter you get a little bit of alacrity. You can do that twice. You then have the what's this? The time sync also as a daze, therefore it won't remove boons, which is always useful. And now it applies to 5 targets instead of 1, so it's AoE, which is nice. That's why usually we run illusion. Now, again, it's not, the build usually doesn't change very much. The only thing that I'm changing as a commander, which is slightly different, I'm running the chaos instead of domination, which means that I'm not doing boon corrupt at all, but I have stability on myself. So every time I apply, I use a shatter, I also get a little bit of stab, which as a commander can be helpful, but that's the only difference. As a normal Chronomancer, you don't really want that, because you're there for boon corrupt. Without the this Grandmaster trait, you're not corrupting anything. Now, as a utilities, those are pretty much standard. The only one that usually changes, well, if the commander asks for Veil, you need to slot in Veil, so that's usually there. Now, Sometimes the commander asks for illusion of life, and then in that case you're gonna remove mimic for illusion of life. If you're struggling with keeping up stability on yourself, you can run the mantra of concentration. This has an advantage when compared to the vibrant mantras, as that you actually get something when you cast it. The first cast does something. It gives aegis and stability. So if you do forget to use your mantra concentration, well, you can still let it do in combat and grant stability. Now it still has a long cooldown when you use it twice, so just don't spam it. Nice things to know about the your utilities. Nullfield is like wells for necros, in the sense that it's a scale, you place it on the ground and it stays there. Now it has two effects. The first one is that it removes boons on for 5 seconds. It removes 5 boons to 5 targets, so it's 25 boons if done correctly. But it also removes conditions. So there are times where you want to keep your null field and use it on your squad, so that you're helping out with cleansing conditions. Your healing skill, regardless whether you are on full minstrel or not, it does not really heal that much. It has 2 components. The first one, when you place it, it does something, and when it ends, it does something. Now, when you first place it, it activates the initial self-heal on you, and when it ends, then it grants the extra healing on everybody that you pick up. Now, where you place it, it's kind of important, because it also grants 1 condition to your allies, and they do not need to stay inside for the full duration. So if you see someone that is stuck, you can drop the well on them, and you might be able to unstuck them if they are immobilized. For the null field, yes. The well of eternity, no. That's the first time. Yeah, I mean, I think so, at least. I only noticed that it cleanses once. If it does it multiple times, then it's amazing, but yeah, then again, it's not really your job to Condi cleanse, but all your other healing skills kinda sucks, so that's the best option. Not only that, it's also a well, which is the main reason why Chronomancer slot this skill, because it grants alacrity. So as you place it down, it gives alacrity where you place it. That's why people use it. But then it has the secondary effect of cleansing condition, and it can be really helpful, especially as you push in. What I tend to do is to use null field roughly where we are gonna clash. So I'm gonna both cleanse condition on us, and hopefully remove some boons on the enemy. Skill here. Now, Mimic allows you to do your utility skill twice. So if you first activate your Mimic skill and then you cast something like Null Field, the cooldown on Null Field gets resetted to 1 second, so you can do it twice. You can do the same for Veil and all your other utility skills. So if Veil is not needed, you could slot in your Illusion of Life and do that twice. If Illusion of Life is not needed, you could slot in the Phantasmal Disenchanter, which, kinda the name says it all, is that it's a phantasm that disenchant to remove boons. It's also phantasm, so it gets killed rather quickly. But if you manage to land it, it does loads of boon removal because it's also unblockable. The difficulty of landing it is that it's a 900 skill and it has a little bit of cast time, and yeah, tends to die before it does something. But in a small scale, it's really effective. But then you rarely have the chance of running the skills that you want, because most of the time the commander choose the skills for you anyway. Now, I kind of forgot the weapon set. The weapon set is also kind of dictated by the commander, in the sense that you want to have focus of hand to have the temporal curtain, which is your pool. There are no decent one end that you can use. There is kind of a discussion between Sword and Scepter. Both of them are, well, I kind of like Sword more because you have access to an additional Ilvul, which is your Blood Frenzy. And you can also leap in and try to immob people, which sometimes it's helpful, especially if they run away. Your secondary weapon set, you're gonna swap your focus for your shield. The shield is another source of alacrity with the tide of times. It also stuns, and therefore it's a boon removal. What you want to do is try to aim this shield towards the group of enemies and try to hit as many as possible. The shield is also helpful because you have a block, which now I'm gonna get to it. One of your main job as a mesmer is stay alive, so you're also able to do other stuff like do CC and things like that. So you have several ways to staying alive, and it's really hard to kill you in that regard. Your major cooldown is gonna be distortion. Distortion makes you immune to condies and damage. So while that's active, you are basically immune to damage. You have Echoes of Memory. That's a block. Now, unblockable attacks can still hit you, of course, but everything else is gonna get blocked. And if you are trying to get out of an enemy group, you can activate it, start moving away, and hopefully you can also move. So if you're gonna use your block, I highly suggest you to drop a null field down, so you're gonna cleanse your condition as you move away. You can also, if the enemy group is moving and you kind of fucked up your positioning and you find yourself in a bad position, you can activate your Blood Frenzy. You're gonna be immune for a second, but that sometimes it's enough to just use it and then dodge away, so that you can move in the opposite direction of the enemy group. Those are your main ways of avoiding damage, and that's really important, especially because, well, you're quite beefy as a character. You have loads of health, with toughness. If you're running Minstrel, you have plenty of toughness, plenty of vitality. You have no trouble staying alive, and you can use your dodges however you want, because they do not have any other effect other than allowing you to dodge. But keep in mind that you have distortion. Distortion is really key, and if you have it alive, if you have it active or enabled or available, you shouldn't be dying. Now, let's go to the the main thing that why people want mesmers in the group. They want mesmers for the temporal curtain, which is the pool. The pool has a very long range in the sense that it's 900, but then when you activate it, you drop this line on the ground. That line has a radius of 600. Now 600 is, let me see if 600 skill here. No, we don't have any, but it's quite large. Yeah, it's about 2 dodges. So it's quite a long distance that you actually reach. Yeah, and so you yank people in while you're activated. Now, it's kind of important as a mesmer to be in voice chat with your group and being able to communicate with your group as well. Because if you use your temporal curtain on cooldown and you start pulling people out of position, etc., and the group doesn't know that, well, you might be doing the best pulls in the world, but nobody's gonna react that fast. And the enemy usually, or even you, when you guys get pulled out of position, the first thing you do is start back in. And you can do that as long as, nobody follows up. And that's why communication is important. Also, you can place temporal curtain, you cannot reactivate that immediately. There's a short delay, and so you have time to say, I'm about to pull, which is good. Now it would be better if you add some sort of cooldown, like you hear the bubble getting cold, like storming 3, 2, 1, and then the bubble goes up, or things like that. Well, the same goes for the mesmers. It'll be really nice to hear mesmer call their pulls so that everybody can react to that. Bonus points is if you also kind of say where you're gonna pull, because I can say pull onto the portal over there. I can say anything, literally any kind of detail. Those are bonus points. Pulls in front, it's the bare minimum, because if the commander doesn't give you the ability to drop a marker, well then you cannot be extremely specific. But at least, please, if you're saying something, help your DPS classes say where you're gonna pull. But those are bonus points. If you want your pulls to be effective, you need few things. Well, the enemy doesn't need to have stability, because if the enemy has stability, you're not gonna pull them, which is kind of unfortunate. So what I'm gonna do usually, if I can, is to drop null field on the people that I want to pull, and then I'm gonna pull slightly offset from the null field. If you're gonna see the recording, you're gonna be able to see it more clearly, but you want to always pull away from the group, and you want to bunker up the group. That's the main things. Now your CC do not end here. It's not all pulls and that's it. You also have Gravity Well, which is one of the strongest CC in the game, and you have this well that pulses and knock people into the towards the center of the well. Yeah, and that's it. You knock down people and pull them into the. Now, bonus points again, because there's a lot of bonus points. If you can chain continuous splits into the gravity well, it's not required. It's not mandatory. Obviously, it's really nice to have, and it does take a little bit of practice. Now, ideally, you'd want to activate your continuous split as you start casting Gravity Well, or while it's in the middle of it. Yeah, I mean, depending on your reaction, casting at the start is gonna end up being in the middle, or exactly at the start. Or just the placement. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you need to make sure that the cast has not finished before you activate the continuous split. Otherwise, it's gonna be on cooldown. Why I'm saying that? Continuous split allows you to reset your cooldown exactly as they were when you activate it. Now, then the nice thing is, you know, that you can reset anything. Like, so what's the best things to reset? Well, obviously you can reset Gravity Well. Nice if you can reset Null Field. You could also reset your shutters, and to do that though, you kinda need at least one illusion. Now, I haven't talked about illusions because as a Chronomancer in World vs. World, having illusion active is difficult. You can create some illusions. You can summon a Phantasmal Warden, for example. You could try with the block, so you actually have to block. Illusionary Leap is also a way to create illusions, but those stays alive roughly for a split second. You know, usually you don't really count on that. Now, as a commander, you probably do not want to continue split ever. Like, forget that it does exist. As a non-commander, you still want to pay attention. Now, with some commanders, I never continue split, even if I know what to do that. I never do that. Why? Well, if the commander doesn't stop for a few seconds, well, then you're gonna be left behind, because continuous split not only resets your cooldown, also resets your position. So if you activate continuous split and you follow the group, and it ends, well, you're suddenly you are 1200 range from the group, which it's kind of annoying. And what happens most of the times is that you continue split into the enemy bomb and then you die. So if your commander allows you to use continuous split, then by all means use it. As a commander, again, it's difficult to say when exactly to use it, because, well, you risk of auto position yourself in respect of your squad, and then, you know, people start saying, "Oh, why did you disappear?" But yeah, that's the thing. I have already a video or two on how to how to perform the continuous split, so I'm gonna link it with this training. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Now, I was sharing before my secret build for Stealth Bomb. Now, I'm gonna leave it here. You guys can feel free to copy it. It's sometimes some crazy commanders ask for a portal bomb. Now, portal bomb, yeah, first of all, you do want to have it as a template so that you can easily switch to this build. This build is, well, The only thing that's important is that we have prismatic understanding, which increases the stealth duration. So your veil and your massive V's last longer, and you're also gonna get Aegis on the massive V's and on the veil. Yeah, I mean, it's more likely that you're gonna succeed. Let's put it this way. The healing skill does not matter at all. You could be running anything. Probably Mirror could be an option. So what you want to do when, for a portal bomb, it's quite easy. Although it's intimidating at the start. You activate your portal, then you start casting Massive Viz. As you get close to the enemy, you blink into them and you drop the portal. That's it. If you do need more stealth, that's why the veils comes in. The Massive Viz, although it's already quite long, it's 9 seconds. The veil gives you another extra 3 seconds. And you use blink to cover the distance. Because speed is not everything, and sometimes I find that I need veil to reposition myself if the squad is moving, and it's more important than having double blink, because double blink is basically to run fast. You disappear and you immediately are on the enemy. So in that case, you could even avoid. Well, no, you couldn't avoid Massive Viz, but yeah, that's my point. You wouldn't need it because in a split second you are on the enemy. I'd rather be able to reposition and find the best spots with veil. Also, you have to be mindful of where you drop the veil, because the veil is going to be visible. And you can also use it as a distraction. Sometimes it's helpful. But yeah, definitely it is an option to run Mimic. And you can run Mimic and double blink. I find it that in any case, whatever you want to run, create a build template so that you can switch in and out of the your skills without wasting time finding all the correct traits every single time, because it's kind of a waste of time. Yeah. I think that's kind of it. Mesmer is kind of an easy to get into class, in the sense that it doesn't do much as long as you're able to communicate with your squad and place the pulse and the veil where the commander asks you to. Well, that's like 60% of your job. Few tricks about pulling people. If you want to pull people down, also when you're kind of idle and you don't know what to do, and you have critical skills on cooldown, keep shattering. Just shatter. Keep your distortion available, but shatter everything else. Now, since as I said before, it has a huge range, the pull. If you want to pull people that are on the ledge above, like over there, for example, you can place the pull on like slightly below, so that the people that are on the ledge will be pulled down. Because you're always gonna pull towards the center of the line. So you want to have the center of the line outside the walls, for example, if you want to pull people down. And you also, always have to remember, it has a range. Yeah, it takes a little bit of practice, but you kind of want it there so that if people are trying to run away, you're gonna them down. Yeah. Oh, what else? Yeah, as I said before, um the most important boon that you have on you and on your party, but you are the most important part in this equation, is the alacrity. So you always want to have alacrity up. Now you do that by shattering and by using Well of Eternity almost on cooldowns on yourself, unless we're about to clash, and then you might want to use it to. Yeah, shatter is a good boon removal. In fact, um, yeah, it's yeah. When you are not in combat, but you are moving around, you always want to have your veil ready, your pull ready. So that's your priority, and that's why I'm saying while you are idle, keep casting the wells and shatter, except for the distortion, because you never know if you get jumped. At least you have your invul, and so therefore you keep getting alacrity up. You could always run around with your shield. That's also a good alacrity source. While you're in combat, on the other hand, you do want to shatter as close as possible to the enemy, because that affects your bone whip. And you also want to use null fields. That's also a good chunk of your bone whip ability. But then again, if your bone whip is not that great, but you're bringing good CC and good communication, well, you're already a really good Mesmer. I mean, it takes practice. Yeah, I mean, there are many Chronomancers around. Mostly because it requires communication and coordination with the squad. And that's also why I think that it's a better commander class when compared to Firebrand, because it's well, you don't have to coordinate with your squad. You are the squad, so you know where to pull, and you're also counting down because, well, that's part of being a commander, and it's like half of the job done. Yeah. Also, being a Mesmer, you're not doing damage. You're hardly contributing the key indicators that we have on the screen. Like you might glance something, you're gonna strip, and usually, if you focus on that, you should be first in strips. Damage, you don't do damage. You don't do healing. You don't down people. Basically, the only thing you bring is your amazing voice, your communication, and the CC on the enemy squad. So, yeah, with Mimic, you should. With Mimic, if you're not first, it means that you are placing your null field in the wrong spots, and that kind of requires a little bit of knowledge, I mean, I guess it could, but it's hard to, because it's not Mimic that's important. It's the skill after Mimic that you want. I mean, if you have a few seconds of continuous split, sure. I mean, you can fit G-Well, you can fit Mimic and Nullfield, then it resets everything, and then you have another Mimic Nullfield. But you're only gaining one Nullfield that way, because it's really hard to fit Nullfield, Mimic, Nullfield within the seconds of continuous split, unless you have like 2 clones. If you have 2 clones up, probably yeah, you could. With 1 clone, it's impossible. With 2 clones, it's doable. 3 clones, yeah, it's an eternity. But you can definitely fit as much as you want. But I don't think I ever saw more than 1 clone active on my gameplay. I mean, it's extremely rare. But yeah, you can CS everything. So. Yeah, I mean, sure. If you happen to have a random boar close to you and you you want to let your clones attack that, yeah, I mean that's I guess that's a viable option. Unfortunately, I don't think you always have the luxury of having random boars close to you. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's much more to say about the class. Again, your most important boon is alacrity, so remember, alacrity is life. And whenever you have alacrity, your cooldowns are reduced by half, so kind of want to have alacrity all the time, especially if you have Pulse on cooldown or G-Well on cooldown. And even more so if you have continuous split on cooldown as well. That's also important. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have, I think. Was rather quick. Any other questions?
Just with the range of the temporal curtain, does it help if you put the ends sort of towards who you want to pull? So if I was to pull you, sort of make the end go sort of close to you like that, so I pull you the furthest distance towards the portal type thing.
Nope, actually not, because
no.
Where you placed it, yeah, you're gonna pull me where my marker is. Like, you're gonna put me in the middle.
Right.
So, if you want to pull me as close as possible to the portal, then you should pull the line, well, as close as possible to the portal, because that's the you always have to care about the center of the line. That's where the pull happen.
So you don't get any extra range by putting the end?
Nope.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and the line is kind of misleading because that's the center that's important.
Sort of when it's working out the range where it would sort of affect the enemy, it basically goes from the middle of the line back to the end. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a line because it kind of makes sense for the how the skill is defined, and also if you place it and people go through that, you get swiftness. If it were a dot, then it kind of loses that purpose. Yeah, also you never want to use it for the stealth, for the swiftness. But sometimes especially when my vibrant forgets to drop the swiftness, and we are not in combat and will not be for a long time, I just drop it down and give all the squad swiftness. Yeah, I mean that's always an option. So. Yeah, no, I mean it's a bonus. In combat, it will not really happen that you grant swiftness to anybody, unless you mistake your temporal coating for veil, and then you drop one instead of the other. But that shouldn't happen. I mean, they kind of looks the same. So. Yeah. Anyway, if you guys have any other questions, you know where to find me.